Tai stood frozen in the university administrative office, his fingers tight around the lawsuit papers. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as he tried to make sense of what was happening. Just yesterday, he had been a normal engineering student with perfect grades. Now he was being sued. "This can't be real," Todd whispered, scanning the official document again. The university legal advisor, a thin man with rimless glasses, sighed deeply. "I'm afraid it is very real, Mr. Ta. Your neighbor is quite serious about this privacy violation." Tay's mind flashed back to 2 days ago. The sky had been perfectly clear, ideal conditions for testing his senior project. The drone he had built over 6 months was his pride and joy. It wasn't like the toy drones in stores. This was a professional-grade hexacopter with 6 rotors and custom sensors designed to analyze air pollution. The test flight had started perfectly. The drone rose smoothly from the university field behind his apartment building. Ta had carefully piloted it in a controlled pattern, watching the pollution data stream to his tablet. Everything was working exactly as designed. Then the wind changed. A strong gust caught the drone just as Tai was checking a data anomaly on his screen. Before he could correct course, the wind pushed his drone over the tall fence and above his neighbor's large property. "No, no, no," Ta had shouted, fingers flying over the controls. That's when Mr. Park had stormed out of his house. The older man wore a neat gray suit despite being at home in the middle of the day. His face had turned red as he pointed up at the drone. "What do you think you're doing?" Mr. Park had shouted. "This is private property. You're spying on me." "I'm sorry, it's just the wind." Ta had called back, finally regaining control and bringing the drone back to his side. It was an accident. But Mr. Park hadn't cared about explanations. He had marched straight to Ta, jabbing a finger at his chest. "I know what you're doing," he had said in a low, threatening voice that seemed strange for a privacy complaint. "This ends now." Now, standing in the office with the lawsuit in hand, Tai felt sick. His scholarship wouldn't cover legal fees. His parents back home couldn't help much either. "What happens now?" Tai asked the advisor. "The university can't intervene in private legal matters between students and community members," the man explained. "You'll need to find representation or represent yourself in court." Ta walked back to his apartment in a daze. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows as his mind raced through options. He couldn't afford a lawyer. He couldn't drop out so close to graduation. And something about Mr. Park's reaction seemed extreme. Back in his small apartment, Tay opened his laptop and downloaded the drone's full data log. As an engineering precaution, his drone recorded everything: flight path, mechanical performance, and sensor readings. Maybe there was something here that could help his case. As the data populated his screen, Ta frowned. The atmospheric readings looked normal until the exact moment the drone crossed over Park's property line. Then, all 6 sensors registered something bizarre. Radiation patterns unlike anything in his textbooks. Tay zoomed in on the readings. This wasn't background radiation or any known energy signature. It was structured, with regular peaks and valleys, almost like a signal. A knock at his door made him jump. "It's open," Ta called, still staring at the screen. His roommate Jin walked in carrying 2 cups of coffee. Jin studied literature and knew nothing about engineering, but he was a good friend and could tell when Tai was troubled. "Heard about the lawsuit," Jin said, setting 1 coffee beside Ta. "That's rough." "Thanks," Ta said, taking a grateful sip. "But I think there's something weird going on." "What do you mean?" Ta pointed at his screen. "Look at these readings from when the drone was over Park's house. These energy signatures don't match anything known to science." Jin squinted at the colorful graphs. "Maybe your sensors are broken." "That's what I thought at first," Tai replied, typing rapidly to bring up more data. "But all 6 independent sensors show the exact same anomaly at the exact same time. The chance of that being a coincidence is basically 0. "So what is it?" Jin asked. Tai overlaid a thermal map on the property image. A cold spot appeared under Park's house, far colder than any basement should be. I don't know, Ta said quietly, but I think there's something underneath Park's house, something he really doesn't want anyone to find. Jin looked worried. You think that's why he's suing you? To keep you quiet? Tai nodded slowly. This isn't about privacy. It's about secrecy. The small university courtroom was filled to capacity. Students sat shoulder to shoulder on the wooden benches, whispering as Tai entered with his attorney. News of the drone lawsuit had spread quickly across campus. Tai never expected to afford legal representation, but Miss Kim had approached him after reading about his case in the university paper. She had taken an interest in tech privacy cases and offered to represent him at a minimal cost. Remember to stay calm, Ms. Kim whispered as they took their seats at the defendant's table. Let me do the talking. On the other side of the room sat Mr. Park, rigid in an expensive suit. His attorney, a stern man with silver hair, arranged documents with mechanical precision. The university arbiter, Professor Lee from the law department, called the room to order. This wasn't a formal court, but rather the university's dispute resolution process that preceded actual court hearings. We will hear opening statements regarding the drone privacy violation complaint, Professor Lee announced. Ms. Kim stood first. She was younger than Tai expected for an attorney, but her voice carried confidence. My client's drone entered the airspace above Mr. Park's property due to environmental factors beyond his control, she explained calmly. Weather reports confirm an unexpected wind gust of 22 miles per hour occurred at precisely 3:47 p.m. that day. The flight lasted less than 40 seconds before Mr. Tai regained control. She presented the drone's flight log data, showing the exact path and timestamps. Ta had carefully removed any mention of the strange readings before giving Ms. Kim the files. When Park's attorney rose, his voice was cold and precise. Intent is irrelevant in this matter, he stated flatly. The privacy violation occurred regardless of how it happened. Mr. Park's security was compromised, and he has the right to feel safe in his own home. Park himself stared directly at Tai during the entire proceeding, barely blinking. Something about his gaze made Ta's skin crawl. The hearing lasted 3 hours, with both sides presenting arguments. In the end, Professor Lee announced that he would review the evidence and provide a recommendation within 10 days. If either party rejected the recommendation, they could proceed to formal court. Outside the hearing room, Jin waited for Tai. How did it go? Jin asked as they walked across campus. I don't know, Ta said, but Park never took his eyes off me. It was weird. That night, Ta couldn't sleep. The strange energy readings haunted him. Whatever was beneath Park's house, it wasn't normal, and Park was going to extreme lengths to keep it hidden. At 2 a.m., Tae texted Sung, his friend from computer science. Are you up? 20 minutes later, they met in the 24-hour university tech lab. Sung brought coffee and a worried expression. You look terrible, Sung said, handing Tai a cup. What's so urgent? Tai pulled out his laptop and showed Sung the original drone data. I need your help analyzing this. Sung's eyes widened as he studied the readings. Where did you get this? My drone recorded it when it flew over Park's house. The guy who's suing me. This isn't normal radiation, Sung whispered. It's patterned, almost like it's communicating. They spent hours analyzing the data, applying different filters and algorithms. By morning, they had confirmed that the energy signature was unlike anything in scientific literature. We need more data, Ta said, rubbing his tired eyes. How? You can't fly over his house again. Ta smiled. Actually, I've been building something. In his apartment closet, Tai revealed a smaller drone, barely larger than his palm. This one is designed for altitude. I've added higher resolution sensors and a better camera. You're crazy, Sung said. If Park catches you, I won't fly over his property, Tai explained. I'll stay in public airspace, 500 feet up. That's completely legal. 3 nights later, after careful planning, Tai and Sung launched the mini-drone from the university rooftop. It climbed quickly, reaching its programmed altitude before moving toward Park's neighborhood. Through the live feed on Ta's laptop, they watched as the drone's sensors began recording. The radiation signature appeared again, stronger than before. "Look at this," Sung pointed to the thermal imaging. "That cold spot is huge, much bigger than a normal basement." The thermal map showed what appeared to be an underground structure at least 3 stories deep. "And look at the dimensions," Ta said. "It extends beyond his property line. It's not just a basement or bunker." As they watched, something strange happened. The cold spot seemed to pulse, and the radiation signature intensified. "It's reacting to something," Sung whispered. Suddenly, the drone's warning system flashed. Something was approaching it from below. Fast. "What is that?" Ta gasped, watching the heat signature rise rapidly toward their drone. Before they could react, the drone's transmission cut out completely. The screen went black. Tai frantically tried to reestablish connection, but nothing worked. Their drone was gone. "Did Park just shoot down our drone?" Sung asked in disbelief. "Whatever just happened," Ta said, closing his laptop. "That was not normal technology. And now I'm absolutely certain this lawsuit is just a distraction." The next morning, Ta found a note slipped under his apartment door. The handwriting was perfect, almost artificially so. "Stop looking. For your own safety." 3 days after the drone disappeared, Ta found himself back in the university courtroom. This time, the room was even more crowded. News of the strange case had spread beyond campus. Even local reporters waited outside, hoping for a story about the drone student and his wealthy neighbor. Ta had barely slept. After receiving the threatening note, he and Sung had spent every waking hour analyzing their data and preparing their next move. Jin had joined them too, bringing food and coffee while they worked. "Are you sure about this?" Ms. Kim whispered as they sat waiting for the judge. "Changing our defense strategy at this point is risky." Ta nodded firmly. "I need to do this. Trust me." Professor Lee entered and called the session to order. Park sat across the room, looking completely calm. His face showed no sign that he had threatened Ta or shot down a drone. He wore another perfect suit and nodded politely to the judge. "Before we continue with standard proceedings," Ms. Kim announced, "my client would like to present new evidence relevant to this case." Park's attorney immediately objected. "This is irregular, Your Honor. We haven't been provided with any new evidence." Professor Lee looked at Ta with raised eyebrows. "Is this evidence directly related to the privacy complaint?" "Yes, sir," Ta replied. "It explains why Mr. Park is really suing me." After a moment's thought, Professor Lee nodded. "I'll allow it, but it must be relevant." Tai approached the front of the room with his tablet. His hand shook slightly as he connected it to the display system. The large screen at the front of the courtroom flickered to life, showing complex data patterns and thermal imaging. The room fell completely silent as Tai turned to face everyone. "Your Honor, I believe Mr. Park's lawsuit is a distraction from something far more concerning," he said, his voice stronger than he expected. "These are energy readings my drone detected while it was briefly over his property." The display showed colorful graphs and patterns that pulsed with strange regularity. Most people in the room looked confused, but several science professors in attendance leaned forward with sudden interest. Park stood up quickly. "This is ridiculous. You're trying to distract from your own crimes." Tai continued calmly, clicking to the next image. "This is a thermal map showing an underground structure beneath Mr. Park's house. It's approximately 3 stories deep and extends beyond his property lines." The blue and black image clearly showed an enormous cold spot with geometric shapes that couldn't be natural. Professor Lee studied the data with a frown. "What exactly am I looking at, Mr. Ta?" "Energy signatures consistent with technology that doesn't exist on Earth," Ta said firmly. "And I believe Mr. Park knows exactly what they are." The courtroom erupted in murmurs and nervous laughter. A few people started to stand, thinking this was some kind of joke. Park remained perfectly still, but his eyes had changed. They seemed harder, more focused, like a predator's. Furthermore, Ta continued, when I sent a second drone to take readings from public airspace, something shot it down. I have the data transmission showing an unknown object rising from Mr. Park's property at impossible speed. He clicked to show the final seconds of the drone's recording, a heat signature moving upward at what the data showed was over 200 miles per hour. Two university security guards who had been standing near the door began moving toward Park. They didn't seem to be responding to Ta's claims, but rather to something in Park's behavior that concerned them. Park slowly backed away from his table. "Mr. Park, please remain seated," Professor Lee ordered. What happened next occurred so quickly that many people would later disagree about the exact sequence of events. Park's face seemed to shift slightly, his features becoming momentarily fluid. Then, with a speed no human could match, he vaulted over the courtroom barrier in a single bound. His body moved like water, impossibly fast and graceful. Before anyone could react, he crashed through the window, shattering the glass with a sound like thunder. People screamed and ducked for cover as glass sprayed across the room. Ty ran to the window and looked down. They were 3 stories up, a fall that would seriously injure or kill a normal person. But Park stood on the ground below, completely unarmed. He looked up, meeting Ta's eyes for a brief moment. Then Park turned and ran. His speed was inhuman. He crossed the university quad in seconds and disappeared between buildings. The courtroom descended into chaos. Students were shouting, security was calling for backup, and Professor Lee was trying unsuccessfully to restore order. The doors burst open, and 6 people in dark suits entered. They moved with practiced precision, taking control of the room immediately. "This proceeding is suspended," announced a woman who seemed to be their leader. She showed identification that made Professor Lee step back in surprise. "Everyone please remain calm and stay where you are." As the agents began securing the room and collecting Ta's evidence, one of them approached him directly. "Mr. Ta, I'm Agent Hoon. We need to talk about what you've discovered," he said quietly, "and about your neighbor, who is definitely not who he claims to be." The black government car drove Ta deep into the mountains. After 3 hours of winding roads, they reached what looked like an ordinary research facility. Only when they descended in the elevator did Ta realize the truth. The real facility was underground. The elevator opened to reveal a vast complex humming with activity. Scientists hurried between labs carrying equipment Ta had never seen before. Walls displayed satellite images and data streams that reminded him of his drone readings. "This way, please," Agent Hoon said, leading Ta down a long corridor. 3 weeks had passed since Park's impossible escape from the courtroom. 3 weeks of questioning, tests, and security checks before the government agency finally brought Ta to this hidden place. A large conference room waited at the end of the hall. Ta stopped in surprise when he saw familiar faces. Jin and Sung sat at the table, looking as confused as he felt. Next to them were 3 other students he recognized from engineering classes. "Ta," Jin called, standing up. "They got you too." Before Tai could answer, the door opened again. A woman in her 50s entered, her posture military straight despite her civilian clothes. "I'm Director Han," she said without preamble. "And this is the headquarters of Task Force Sentinel. Until 3 weeks ago, none of you had clearance to know we exist." She activated a screen on the wall showing Park's house. "What you discovered, Mr. Tad, is unfortunately not an isolated incident," Director Han continued. "We've been tracking similar energy signatures across the globe for the past 18 months. The screen changed to show similar readings from locations in different countries. So Park isn't human?" asked Min, a quiet electronics student Ta knew from labs. "We believe he's part of an advanced reconnaissance team," Director Han explained, her face grim. "They're using human disguises to establish monitoring stations on Earth." "Disguises?" Jin looked pale. Like what? Masks? More sophisticated. Director Han replied. We believe they can alter their physical structure to mimic human appearance. The being you knew as Mr. Park abandoned his house after the courthouse incident. When our team searched it, we found an entrance to an underground facility with technology beyond anything currently possible on Earth. Tay's mind raced. That's why he was so angry about the drone. He wasn't worried about privacy. He was worried about discovery. Director Han nodded. Exactly. And your drone design accidentally created the perfect detection system for their technology. That's why you're all here. We need your help. The next days passed in a blur of activity. The students were given a dedicated lab where they worked to enhance Ta's original drone sensors. Jin helped with project management while Sung led the software team. Min and the others focused on miniaturizing the technology. The frequency modulation is the key, Tai explained as they worked. Whatever energy source they're using, it creates a distinctive pattern when it interacts with Earth's magnetic field. 2 weeks into their work, they achieved their first breakthrough. Tai's enhanced sensors, now small enough to fit in a device the size of a phone, could detect the alien energy signature from up to 5 miles away. We need to scale this globally, Director Han said when they demonstrated the device. Can you create a system that could be deployed on satellites? Yes, Ta said after considering it. But we'd need to adjust for atmospheric interference. The team worked around the clock. Sleeping quarters were set up near the lab so they could work in shifts. The government provided everything they needed. Advanced equipment, unlimited resources, and constant security. One night, as Tai and Sung reviewed new satellite data in the main control room, Sung suddenly pointed at the screen. Look at this pattern, he said excitedly. We'd found 27 similar locations across the globe, all displaying the same energy patterns as Park's facility. The map showed pulsing dots spread across every continent. Most were in remote areas, but several appeared in major cities. They're positioning themselves strategically, Tai observed. But for what? As if in answer to his question, Ta's personal tablet, one of the few personal items he'd been allowed to keep, suddenly lit up with a message that appeared despite the facility's security protocols. Stop now. Your species is not ready for the HA8 cubomemes next. The message vanished as quickly as it had appeared. Ta stared at the blank screen, his heart pounding. Director Han needs to see this, he said, grabbing the tablet. They found her in the command center, reviewing reports with Agent Hoon. Her face grew serious as Ta showed her the message. How did they access your device? She asked. This facility is shielded. I don't know, Tai admitted, but they bypassed every security measure like it wasn't even there. Director Han nodded grimly. They know we're onto them, and now they're trying to intimidate us. What do we do? Jin asked, having joined them after hearing the commotion. Director Han looked at each of the students in turn. We accelerate the detection grid deployment. If they're preparing for something, we need to know what and where. She turned to Ta. Can your team have the satellite sensors ready in 48 hours? Ta exchanged glances with his friends. The timeline was nearly impossible, but the threat was real. We'll make it happen, he promised. The team's work progressed rapidly after the threatening message. For security reasons, Director Han moved their operation to a smaller mobile command center. Their satellite detection grid was nearly complete, now tracking 42 alien sites worldwide. 5 days after the message, Ta convinced Director Han to let them test their newest drone prototype outdoors. They needed real-world conditions to verify its enhanced detection capabilities. 1 hour only, she had agreed reluctantly, and a full security team will watch from hidden positions. The university athletic field was chosen for its open space and the fact that it was empty during summer break. As dawn broke, Ta, Jin, Sung, and Min set up their equipment on the dew-covered grass. The prototype drone was smaller than Ta's original creation, but far more powerful. Final checks, Ta said, running through the system diagnostics. Power levels optimal. Sensors calibrated. Weather conditions perfect, Jin added, checking his tablet. No wind interference today. Sung gave a thumbs up from his position at the monitoring station. Software loaded. Connection strong. As Min prepared to activate the launch sequence, a strange feeling made Ta look up. 4 figures stood at the edge of the field, watching them silently. Guys, Ta whispered, his heart racing. Don't make any sudden moves. Look to your left. The others turned slowly. Jin gasped when he recognized the man in front. It was Park. He looked exactly the same as he had in the courtroom, wearing a perfect suit despite the early hour. 3 others stood beside him. 2 men and 1 woman, all with the same rigid posture and blank expressions. Security team, do you see this? Ta whispered into his communication device. There was no response. Park and his companions began walking toward them with perfect synchronization. Ta glanced around quickly. Where was their backup? Had the aliens somehow neutralized the security team? Stay calm, Ta told his friends, stepping forward to meet the approaching figures. Follow my lead. Park stopped 10 feet away. His face showed no emotion, but his eyes seemed to glow slightly in the morning light. Your persistence is impressive, Park said, his voice oddly modulated, like multiple voices speaking at once. But futile. Tay fought to keep his voice steady. What do you want with Earth? Resources. Biological samples. Nothing your kind would miss. Immediately. As Park spoke, his form seemed to shimmer slightly, like a TV with poor reception. We've studied thousands of worlds. Yours is particularly suitable for our needs. And if we resist? Jin asked, stepping up beside Ta. Park tilted his head at an unnatural angle. Resistance from pre-spaceflight civilizations is rarely effective. Ta noticed that Park and his companions positioned themselves precisely at equal distances from each other. They had no idea that beneath the seemingly ordinary athletic field, Task Force Sentinel had installed a network of specialized equipment based on Ta's designs. Ta slowly moved his hand to his watch and pressed a hidden button. Across the field, dozens of micro-drones launched silently from hidden compartments in the ground, rising to form an invisible grid in the air above them. Each drone emitted a specific electromagnetic frequency that Ta's research had shown disrupted the aliens' technology. The effect was immediate. All 4 aliens began to flicker more violently, their human appearances destabilizing. Perhaps, Ta said, gaining confidence, you should have researched us more thoroughly before dismissing humans as primitive. Park's human disguise failed completely. Where the stern neighbor had stood moments before, an iridescent being now towered over them. It had multiple limbs and a body that seemed to shift between solid and liquid states. The creature's skin glowed with patterns similar to the energy readings from Ta's drone. The other 3 aliens also revealed their true forms. Each looked slightly different, but all had the same flowing, light-emitting bodies. The creatures emitted high-pitched sounds that made the humans cover their ears in pain. Ta pushed through the discomfort to activate the second phase of their defense. The drone network expanded, intensifying the electromagnetic field. The aliens began retreating, their bodies seeming to collapse inward. Before vanishing completely, Park, or whatever he truly was, locked eyes with Ta one final time. We underestimated your species' resourcefulness, the creature admitted, its voice now clearly inhuman. This assessment will be included in our report. In a flash of light that momentarily blinded the students, the aliens disappeared. When Tai could see again, the field was empty except for his team. Their communications came back online immediately, with Director Han's worried voice calling for status updates. 3 days later, satellite data confirmed that several unidentified objects had left Earth's atmosphere at speeds that defied human technology. The 27 alien sites worldwide went dormant simultaneously. The lawsuit against Ta was formally dismissed. What had begun as a simple university drone project became the foundation for Earth's first planetary defense system. Do you think they'll come back? Jin asked Tai as they watched their technology being integrated into global security systems. Probably, Tai replied. But next time, we'll be ready. The end.